With my 35 years of experience, our team at US Asset Management can deliver professional investment management, financial planning to help you target your goals, and even specialized divorce financial analysis if you need it. We are here to help you make better decisions with your money. Call US Asset Management today, and let's get to work in your financial future.
I worked in a commercial company for 10 years, not in the defense industry, but in a commercial company. Commercial companies are there to make sure that when there are business opportunities, you grasp them. There is now a huge business opportunity because in NATO, we are spending so much more. The US is spending more, but look at Europe and Canada. I mean, getting in on an equal footing when it comes to the overall defense spending with the US. Tens and tens and tens of billions each year, hundreds of billions over the coming years coming in. Look at Germany, doubling its defense spending in 29 compared to 21, over 150 billion by 29. And we know that about 20-30% of defense spending goes to the defense industry. So the money coming in massively. Now we have to make sure that Sweden, the Netherlands and all the other NATO allies are not buying for a higher price the same. No, they have to buy more for at least the same price or lower. And that means more production lines, more production capacity. The good news is that most defense industrial companies get this, that the financial sector gets it. I had a meeting yesterday with a wide variety of financial sector organizations and banks and companies discussing this, making sure that what can they do to support the defense industry doing it. And it is something where we have a problem here, but also in the US. The US has exactly the same problem. You've seen the American president being very forceful with the big primes in the US, forcing them to quadruple production. And I spoke with one of those CEOs a couple of days later. He was still trembling from that meeting in the White House. Oh, that was good news.
Επανήλθατε στα δημοσιογραφικά στενά παπούτσια. Θα το εξηγήσω. Ευχαριστώ για την ευκαιρία και ευχαριστώ για την πρόσκληση και εσάς και τον πρόεδρο, τον κύριο Βενιζέλο, με τιμά. Οι Patriot στην Κάρπαθο προφανώς δεν πήγαν για να αντιμετωπίσουν την τουρκική απειλή. Ο λόγος της μετακίνησης των Patriot στην Κάρπαθο, όπως και στο Διδημότυχο για να καλυφθεί η Βουλγαρία, είχε να κάνει με την απειλή πυράβλων από το Ιράν. Δεν υπάρχει εκτόξευση πυράβλων από το Ιράν τις τελευταίες 6 και πλέον εβδομάδες. Άρα δεν υφίσταται επιχειρησιακός λόγος έκθεσής τους στο συγκεκριμένο σημείο. Επειδή είδα, παρότι ήμουν στο εξωτερικό, αλλά είδα την φιλολογία που αναπτύσσεται εσωτερικά, θα ήθελα να πω το εξής. Πολλές φορές έχω προειδοποιήσει για το κίνδυνο του τουρκοκεντρισμού. Δηλαδή όλα τα πράγματα να ερμηνεύονται, να εξηγούνται ή να ανατρέχουν στα ζητήματα που αφορούν τη σχέση μας με την Τουρκία. Δεν συμβαίνει πάντα αυτό. Και αν θέλετε δεν μας τιμά και όλο αυτό. Πέραν αυτού δε, υπάρχει ένα απλό επιχείρημα που εξηγεί γιατί αποδεικνύει ότι οι Patriot δεν ήταν εκεί για την Τουρκία. Εάν χρειάζονται Patriot για να αντιμετωπιστεί η τουρκική απειλή, προφανώς επί πάρα πολλά χρόνια που τους έχουμε, κάποια ελληνική κυβέρνηση, κάποιο γενικό επιτελείο θα τους είχε τοποθετήσει εκεί σε κάποιο άλλο νησί του Ανατολικού Αιγαίου. Το γεγονός ότι ουδέποτε τοποθετήθηκαν εκεί αποδεικνύει το προφανές. Δεν είναι για αυτή τη δουλειά. Είναι για άλλη δουλειά η Patriot. Άρα ο επιχειρησιακός σχεδιασμός που οδήγησε στην τοποθέτηση τους εκεί εξηγήθηκε, αφορά την απειλή από το Ιράν. Αυτή η απειλή θεωρήθηκε από τα επιτελεία ότι αυτή τη στιγμή δεν είναι ισχυρή. Εάν παρουσιαστεί εκ νέου, θα τοποθετηθούν εκ νέου εκεί που απαιτεί το εθνικό συμφέρον.
Είναι απόφαση αυτή, δεν έχει να κάνει.
180, 180 con 12 a 16. Establecido. Alta. Alta. Solitario 16. Seguilo. La mano, operadores. La mano, pido. Blanco central, pido. Automático por distancia. Velocidad 0. Altura 4. Parámetro 0. Blanco en zona. Posible tiro. Lanzamiento.
It's what they call a binary choice to the remainders, those who are left, those who have taken the place of the regime that was decapitated and the regime that was replaced. This new team has a choice to make. They can either agree to a piece of paper that is satisfactory to the United States, or they can face a punishment from our military, the likes of which has not been seen in modern history. That's the choice that they face. And it's very important to remember, as we sit here tonight, that Iran has already paid, its regime has already paid the steepest of prices in the form of a crushing and complete military defeat for its pursuit of a nuclear weapon. In other words, President Trump has enforced the non-proliferation principle of the United States with raw American might, sending a message not only to the Iranian regime, sending a message not only to the IRGC, but to the whole world, anyone who would think of doing the same. We have killed and eliminated the evil, wicked, corrupt leadership of that country. The Air Force has been annihilated. The Navy has been annihilated. Its missile program has been annihilated. Its defense industrial base has been annihilated. So this is a country that has been weakened, emasculated, and has been completely deprived of its ability to wage global international war. It is the smallest power it has ever been. And now with this embargo, President Trump has demonstrated at any point in time, if Iran tries to interfere with global commerce, America can shut Iran down. So we have all the cards, we have all the decision-making space, so it's up to Iran. But at any point in time, at any point in the future, if Iran decides to do something foolish to threaten America or the world, our military is at the ready to deal with it.
Of course, it's much worse. Everything is worse. But right from the boarding, I mean, they fired at us twice with bullets of some sort on the boat before coming on board. And not only at us. Anyway, this happens because Israel is protected by the governments of half of Europe, including our own. And so the point is this, that we only protest after things have happened. We have been asking the government for days to say a single word, to send the ship as it did last time. But we have to ask the Italian government about this.
Un posto del terrore, cioè un posto in cui era praticamente un quadrato.
A place of terror. Basically, a square of containers where they kept people inside, with bread and water. Though not much water at first, according to what those who had been there for a day told me. We were one of the last boats they took, so when we arrived, there were who'd been there for a while, since the day before, and as soon as you entered the reception container, they beat you up. They really beat you up. Beat you up means they kicked me in the legs and punched me in the face. These are people who know what they are doing, so I don't have any major visible marks, but...
Grandi segni visibili, però... Welcome to Israel. Questo hanno detto.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Thanks for joining us today. I am on location in Tampa, Florida at SOF Week, or Special Operations Forces Week. It's a week-long conference of capabilities, of networking, of supporting charities, of those who are in the community. And I really want to say I'm really proud and happy and enjoying being back among the Special Operations community, where I cut my teeth decades ago, flying MH-53J Pueblos for SEAL Team 6 and Delta and Rangers, et cetera, and other customers for years. But it's good to be back. Anyway, SOF Week is exciting. We've got some exciting video to show you from some of the capability demonstrations that happened yesterday. So we'll play those a little later in the show. But we're really here for networking, meeting sources, meeting contractors and executives in some of these committees. And we're going to have some exciting interviews over the next few weeks from this, and also from our trip to Hawaii for Department of War at the LandPack conference, which we did last week. We're on the road here at CDM. We pride ourselves on getting you the information you need, and we do that by getting out in the field. We travel a lot. Our team is on the ground in multiple places at once, and you'll be knowing more about that over the next few weeks. By the way, there's some big changes, as I've mentioned, coming to CDM as far as our production capability, etc. And so stand by for that. We'll let you know as those are brought online. I want to say hello to those in the chat. Thank you for all the great comments. By the way, we had a very cool thing. I'll bring this up right now. Real Clear Defense started running our Ukraine SitRep podcast. So let me just bring this on, and you can see it on Real Clear Defense. If you go down to their podcast tab, right there, Hot Wash Ukraine SitRep goes right to us. So we're getting more attention, which is fantastic. So Pete and I are bringing the truth. And thank you for all the comments of our readers and listeners on this and on all our other social media channels, Rumble, YouTube. It's very, very helpful. And we really, really, really appreciate that from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you very much. All right, let's do the mission brief. Today is, what is today? Is it the 20th or 21st? Anyway, I'll get that in 1 second. Hold on. Today is the 21st. Okay, here we go. I'm your host, Todd Wood. Here's your mission brief. We produce on the fly here. And by the way, we'll be bringing in some more production staff as well. So you'll be seeing that. A fortress and much more that we don't know about. We're going to try to dig into this more and maybe even travel to DC to give you an update on the ballroom. It's a huge story. It's been in the news a lot. We want to get the truth to you, so stand by for that. Ukraine loses critical territory. We have an article up on sarsm.com, our Eastern European site, on that. And we'll be talking with Pete Blaber in the second hour of the show about that when we do the Ukraine SitRep. Iran peace elusive. We'll discuss that when we get to the story section. And Google search as you know it is over. That's something you need to know about. And did you know, I knew this already, but attractive women are dangerous. Did you know that? Well, the left and the UK thinks attractive women are very, very dangerous. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back on the SCIF. Got a lot to go through, some exciting video from the SOF conference. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Every day, your data is being tracked, collected, and sold, often without you even realizing it. Big tech companies control your devices, your apps, and the information you share. From your messages to your browsing habits, everything is being monitored and stored. Over time, we've traded privacy for convenience, and most people don't even question it. But what if you could take that control back? That's where Mark 37 comes in. Mark 37 provides privacy-focused phones, laptops, and tablets designed to give you full control over your digital life. With secure systems, expert support, and simple tools, they make it easier to step away from constant tracking and data collection. Because privacy isn't just a feature, it's a fundamental choice. It's about protecting your data, your freedom, and your future. Take back control of your digital life with Mark 37.
And by the way, I wanted to say I'm starting my journey with Sean. I'm going to be getting a Ghost phone and then upgrading to a Ghost computer soon, because I am going to unplug for the Matrix. And you can follow me along on my journey. So mark37.com/CDM is where you want to go to do that. Find the webinar, sign up for the webinar, and learn everything you need to know to get started. And then you can also sign up for a free 30-minute consultation on privacy there at mark37.com/CDM. But I'm looking forward to it, and I have been worried about privacy for some time. So I'm going to be taking the plunge and changing my life and unplugging from the Matrix, and I'm really looking forward to it. So maybe you can join me.
Through the pandemic, we can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down, and doctors' offices were shut down. And even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. we have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
With my 35 years of experience, our team at U.S. Asset Management can deliver professional investment management, financial planning to help you target your goals, and even specialized divorce financial analysis if you need it. We are here to help you make better decisions with your money. Call U.S. Asset Management today, and let's get to work in your financial future.
Welcome back to the SCIF at SOF Week, Special Operations Forces Week. Hope you enjoyed the show. We've got some exciting footage to show you, but let's do some stories real quick. This one on Tsarism.com, our Eastern European site, and the name comes from the old Tsarist Empire of Russia. We cover that geographic area with this website from Poland all the way to San Francisco. Did you know there's a Fort Rus in San Francisco that you can go? It used to be a Russian colony or outpost, if you will, all the way up through the Aleutians and Alaska and all the way to Siberia. So, but the Tsar sold that during the Crimean War because he needed money. That's where all that came from. Anyway, on Tsarism.com, Ukraine lost multiple villages near Dnipro and Dnipro. I always get that one wrong. But it is really serious about the loss of land and what is the logistics networks that go into Dnipro and to the west, and what could fall next if Ukraine does not hold the line here. So Pete and I will talk about this a little later in the show. Here is one on the front page of the website, cdm.press. Ayatollah orders highly enriched uranium to Russia and Iran, straying away from Trump's basis for to remain in Iran, not going to Russia, which basically he's saying we're not going to work with you, President Trump. So the piece is elusive in the Gulf, and we don't know what's going to happen. We're just going to keep reporting on it. There's a lot of talk of another war. It's very possible, another phase in the war, and then who knows what's going to happen in the Middle East or in the U.S. or in the West. So important story. Follow it on cdm.press. Here's a tech story from our tech site and financial site and business site, the Manhattan.press. Google declares end of the 10 blue links era with major AI overhaul of search. So Google search, as you know, it is going away, if not already, and it's going to be all AI driven, and that is happening across different search networks. And it's a big change because they're basically telling you what you're going to see. They're not going to let you find it for yourself. A big, that's the takeaway I take, is that information is being more and more controlled via AI, and all the more important for free media like cdm.press to get the news out there and the truth out there. And I've come to realize that over time, especially recently, that the purpose, we've always, our purpose is here, but the purpose is really to continue bringing truth. I think human generated news is going to be more and more and more and more important, to the opposite of what you've been told, that everything's going to be automated. I think human news is extremely important and will remain so as we move forward. All right, here's the one that I was talking about in the cold open. Did you know that attractive women are very, very dangerous, especially those on the right? Here are two ladies. I met Ava up at Tucker's studio in Maine several years ago, and there's several other women that are causing quite a stir in the UK. They don't like attractive women and think that they're the new face of the Nazi far right are attractive white girls. So you go figure. All right, let's see, what else do we got here? that is it. Now I'm going to move to something which I think you'll find interesting. So yesterday there was a capabilities demonstration here at SOF Week, and I want to play this for you and give you an idea of what. Hold on before I go. This is a capabilities demonstration on a mock hostage rescue in Tampa Bay Harbor. So hope you enjoy this. It's about 10 minutes long, just some clips of the rescue. It's kind of cool. So here we go. Just wanted to say that noise is the miniguns, the Gatling guns that you would know it by on the aircraft and the boats. So.
Every day, your data is being tracked, collected, and sold, often without you even realizing it. Big tech companies control your devices, your apps, and the information you share. From your messages to your browsing habits, everything is being monitored and stored. Over time, we've traded privacy for convenience, and most people don't even question it. But what if you could take that control back? That's where Mark 37 comes in. Mark 37 provides privacy-focused phones, laptops, and tablets designed to give you full control over your digital life. With secure systems, expert support, and simple tools, they make it easier to step away from constant tracking and data collection. Because privacy isn't just a feature, it's a fundamental choice. It's about protecting your data, your freedom, and your future. Take back control of your digital life with Mark 37.
And by the way, I wanted to say I'm starting my journey with Sean. I'm going to be getting a Ghost phone and then upgrading to a Ghost computer soon, because I am going to unplug for the Matrix. And you can follow me along on my journey. So mark37.com/CDM is where you want to go to do that. Find the webinar, sign up for the webinar, and learn everything you need to know to get started. And then you can also sign up for a free 30-minute consultation on privacy there at mark37.com/CDM. But I'm looking forward to it, and I have been worried about privacy for some time. So I'm going to be taking the plunge and changing my life and unplugging from the Matrix, and I'm really looking forward to it. So maybe you can join me.
A warm welcome here at the National Press Club. Welcome to the journalists, welcome to the Embraer team, and welcome to the other guests that we have here. Going to announce, and as some of you guessed it right when they came in, the first E2 order by an American operator. And that operator is Avello. We believe this is really a strategic shift to unlock profitability for the customer. I'm very pleased that we have Andrew Levy here as the CEO of Avello, and I'm very pleased to give the stage to share a little bit more about what Avello is going to do with the E2 195. Thank you very much.
Couldn't be more excited to be here as part of this historic announcement. We have such a great cultural fit as companies, so we're very, very excited to be Embraer's newest customer. We launched our airline in April of 21, and our target is focusing on small secondary airports of large metro areas. We've carried over 8 million customers since we started on 63,000 flights. And we've done all these things with 1,200 of the greatest crew members I could ever imagine having, and many of them are here with me today. This is the right airplane for us. It's going to open up opportunities for us that no other aircraft can serve. The best thing about the airplane, of course, is you will not find a middle seat on this airplane. It doesn't exist. We won't have any to offer. It's going to be the best cabin in the United States, and we're so excited about that. This is going to elevate our experience to the highest level, and we think our customers are absolutely going to love the airplane.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
Welcome back to the SCIF. One of the things here at SOF Week that is a problem for a lot of the veterans is inflammation and just beat up bodies from a lot of service, jumping out of airplanes, jumping into the water, flying in helicopters that destroy your back because of the vibration. And it's really is damaging to the human body over a long period of time. And these guys, some of them have 20, 30 years doing this stuff, and you see them limping all around. Well, inflammation is a big one. So I thought I would play the video a little while back with Dr. McCullough. And we talked with him about inflammation and how to treat it. And a lot of people have this issue even if you weren't in the military. So I thought we would play. I'm honored to be back with a friend of the show, Dr. Peter McCullough from the Wellness Company. Doc, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you.
So I saw something that you put out, and we have some people on our team that were really involved in Lyme disease, got it, and were persecuted really for saying, I think I have Lyme disease because it has all these other symptoms that docs didn't really want to treat. But you said something recently that almost everyone has markers for this. Tell me about that.
Some sort. And there are certainly tick-borne diseases, Lyme disease, babesiosis, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and others. But what's unique about Lyme, the organism Borrelia burgdorferi, is that it installs certain antigens in the body. One of them is called opsinin A that cause chronic illness. There's no doubt about it. People develop chronic Lyme. And, the key is to treat it very early. In fact, in the Wellness Company, we have emergency medical kits that have doxycycline. There's a protocol. If you get a tick, within a very brief period of time, if you take doxycycline, you're fine. But once the Lyme organism is installed and we start to get Lyme disease, it causes a skin rash. The target, and where the tick usually bites, believe it or not, is the back of the arm. It's a place you can't see. And that's exactly where my wife got it. And so it forms a target. And if you treat it right away, in that case, we use 2 antibiotics for my wife, again, problem solved. But if it's not detected, weeks to months later, there's joint inflammation. It gets into the brain, causing all kinds of neurologic problems. It gets into the heart and actually causes heart block, which requires a pacemaker. That happened in my wife's cousin. People live in the Northeast originally, is where it was originally described, but Michigan, loaded, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and even down through the central Midwest, including Oklahoma and Texas. My wife got it in Texas, actually. So the key thing about Lyme is to make sure you have an emergency medical kit from the Wellness Company, recognize a tick bite early, follow the protocol, take doxycycline to knock it out. If one develops clinical Lyme disease, oftentimes 2 antibiotics are needed. Again, that's covered in the Wellness Company kits. Chronic Lyme disease, the reason why there's been attempts on vaccination. So there was a vaccine several years ago. It was partially effective to prevent the first case of Lyme, but in fact, it caused post-Lyme syndrome, including joint symptoms, and now a new one recently on focal points. And again, it was partially effective, about 70%, but seemed to cause joint aches. And so, we don't want to give a vaccine to a well person and end up with a post-Lyme-like syndrome. So that's where we are right now. I still think it's about prompt detection, early treatment.
Interesting, because my son had it, and we didn't realize he had it because he didn't get the target. One of my other children had the target, but he came in one night in the middle of the night. He was like, 6 years old, walked into the bedroom, and my wife and I, he's like, do you see that bed? It's coming after me. And he was hallucinating.
Yes.
So it was in the brain, right?
Yes.
It's really, really
brain.
scary.
It's scary. Gets in the heart. An example, my wife's denied it. There was a great controversy of whether or not there was a post-Lyme syndrome. Linked to this can be chronic fatigue syndrome, neuropathies, and finally, all the medical societies agree there is a post-Lyme syndrome. It's a legitimate diagnosis. And once we're past the phase where antibiotics can use, most of this is dealing with the body's reaction to the Lyme antigen and forms of detoxification.
So let's talk about that. Inflammation is a big deal. A lot of, especially older people, have it. A lot of the stuff there, the treatments that come out today are just to mask the underlying problem. Talk to me about inflammation, please.
So true. Older, sometimes it's frankly painful, but a lot of times what I think, Todd, is that I just feel old, like my knees feel old. And the big innovation from the Wellness Company are forms of peptides. Now, peptides are less than 50 amino acids in length. we have a topical product that's wonderful, particularly for the knees and the hands, elbows, and that's called TheraBlue. TheraBlue features several peptides as well as botanicals, menthol, and actually methylene blue. That's the reason why it's called TheraBlue. It actually looks like a blue cream. You rub it into your knees and elbows, hands, and boy, does it work. I mean, it's miraculous how much better you feel when you use TheraBlue. It comes in a pretty big pump canister. So I think twice a day on TheraBlue for people with chronic joint ailments is wonderful. And now we have a systemic approach called Regenerate. Regenerate is leveraging topical drops, and we can use up to about 30 drops in a cup of coffee or just a small shot glass or two of water. And Regenerate contains 3 peptides, one commonly used, BP157, that's 15 amino acids inside, KPV, 3 amino acids, and TB500, 7 amino acids. And there's a special aquasome technology that allows these to get into the system. This is wonderful because it's not a drug to cover up body, and then they're disposed of through our typical reticular endothelial system clearance. So these are a breakthrough. People who want to fundamentally improve their musculoskeletal health. It's also very good for the GI microbiome.
So if I'm correct, I'm not a doctor, but these are like building blocks that your body can use to repair itself. Am I right about that?
Absolutely. So the body, it stimulates repair. That's exactly what they do. They stimulate repair. They do tend to block various inflammatory programs. There is a called epigenetics, where certain factors turn on genes, and those genes produce inflammatory factors. So you have to have inhibitors, and a lot of times that's what these peptides do. There's more and more research suggesting they're very beneficial. The best thing about them is safe. They are very safe. I worry about my patients taking the heavy duty. My mom has arthritis, and she takes meloxicam, which is a prescription non-steroidal. It's in the family with Motrin and Aleve. And boy, I tell you, it causes stomach ulcers and kidney problems like there's no tomorrow. And I'm greatly worried about meloxicam, Bextra, these types of drugs. I think the safest over-the-counter anti-inflammatory is actually naproxen sodium, the blue gel caps. Well, that would be, but it's in a gel cap. This is very important because you want the pain relief quickly, but you don't want the tablet to lay against the stomach and burn a hole in the stomach and cause an ulcer. So I never take Motrin tablets or a Aleve tablet. If I have a bad headache, I'll take 2 of the blue gel caps, naproxen sodium blue gel caps. You can get them anywhere.
Interesting. So there's no really, I guess, side effects of some of these peptides you're talking about?
No.
Okay.
No, they are free of anything concerning whatsoever. And, they take time. I tell everybody, listen, these are, products that are natural to the body. Give good 6 to 12 months and see if that back stiffness and hips and knees, especially the deeper joints, that's hard to get to with various forms of rubs. And I'm thinking about the lumbosacral spine. You can only do so much with physical therapy and then the over-the-counter anti-inflammatories. They have their role, and certainly if there's terrible pain, you can't sleep, you can take 2 of them. But you want to fundamentally improve the problems, fundamentally make the joints better. The 2 products are TheraBlue topically and Regenerate by taking oral drops.
Well, thank you. You answered those questions, but I would be remiss if I let you get away and not giving me an update on some of the vaccine problems we're having. I know young women who can't seem to have a child. I mean, cancers, all of that. What's the latest that you're seeing on the, I guess, the side effects of the Kodaks?
Well, the first thing we're seeing another marketing campaign for more boosters. And the name of this campaign, it comes out each year. This one is called Cicada. And it's a new version of COVID resistant to all the other vaccines. And I bet there'll be cicada vaccines in the fall. You mark my words on this. Remember, last year it was razor blade sore throat. Cicada are those giant bugs that emerge and St. Louis and Kansas City, they make so much noise. They're about as big as your hand. And cicada means rebirth or resurrection. So it's almost as if those promoting the vaccines want a re-erection of a very mild illness. Over 90% of us have had the illness. We don't have to worry about it. 81% took a vaccine. Most people are not taking any more vaccines. But what is emerging is an understanding that the vaccines stay in the body a very long time. Pfizer and Moderna now 3.5 years in circulating in the bloodstream. Spike protein it produces lasts again for many years. We need the ultimate spike detox from the wellness company. This is the go-to product. 2 capsules twice a day. Today, a year or more on this to drop the spike antibody levels. You can measure those self-directed at LabCorp. The next product we have, which is a global detoxifiant, and this is one I definitely recommend for those who've had Lyme and COVID, is the Ultra NAC. So this is N-acetylcysteine, zinc, selenium, molybdenum, and very importantly, milk thistle, liposomal glutathione, and quercetin. So I read those small fonts without glasses. I'm feeling pretty strong today. But these, Todd, these are wonderful supplements. They go together. It's a natural approach. We advise people to sweat because we know the vaccine and the spike protein comes out in sweat. Right now, these are the leading approaches for people to get through these pandemic syndromes.
Very interesting, Doctor. We'll have you back. Thank you for your time and really informative. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, there's a video out, a trailer, a movie coming actually. Hold on, get rid of that 1 second. There is a movie coming out called, but the launch is soon. It's called Duty to Disobey. And I want to run the trailer so you can, we're just trying to PR the movie to help our friend Mark Bashaw and Children's Health Defense get this out because it's a fantastic story that needs to be talked about. 1 second, and we'll bring that up. Okay, here we go.
The incredible service members,
we owe you our freedom.
The Pentagon is going to require vaccines for all service members.
I'm asking the Defense Department to look into how and when they will add COVID-19 to the list of vaccinations our armed forces must get.
Leaders did everything legal or illegal within their power to coerce and influence their service members to get the shot.
Her son and 9 other Marines were being held in confinement in the brig until they got vaccinated.
If you don't do what they tell you to do, they will ostracize you. They will destroy your life.
8,000 well-trained men and women were fired.
I lost my ability to feed my family.
I mean, I'm being told you're getting dishonorably discharged.
You cannot mandate an experimental medical product on military members.
The impact is really on the entire nation.
I had a battalion commander come to me and she said, "Dear God, we're killing our own soldiers."
When we talk about orders that are unlawful, now there is a duty to disobey.
So check that film out when you can. Go to the Children's Health Defense website and you can see it there and get tickets. It's really important to get tickets because some of the venues are not going to show it if they don't get enough signups for and purchases of the tickets. So please check out Duty to Disobey. All right, another thing that is happening, which you need to be aware of, we played this once before. Pete's coming on at the top of the hour, but we're about to drop another big story on Chinese Communist Party money coming into our media. And also, obviously, we've been on the story happening across our political system in our elections and in our campaign finance. So I'm going to replay a little bit of what Chris Gleason said when we were in Hawaii at the LandPAC conference about the Chinese communist influence in our elections. And then I want to bring Pete on at the top of the hour, but I want to stay on this subject because it's hugely important and much more is going to come out on it. So here we go. We're back with our good friend of the show, Chris Gleason. I am on location at a Department of War event. But Chris, good to have you back, my friend.
Good to be back, Todd.
I wanted to get you on because you've been dropping some bombs. Twitter is like on fire. I see these like secondary explosions going on. I mean, what is going on with the CCP money, my friend?
So there's a lot of it that's being criminally laundered into political campaigns, and apparently it's a full-on Chinese influence operation. They've been funneling money to the Democrats. They've been funneling money to the Republicans. Ashley Moody, my now opponent for the U.S. Senate, she has taken quite a bit of the CCP money. Then you have the two quote-unquote lead candidates in Florida for governor. They have received CCP money. Rick Scott has received CCP money. We've got Earl Lee, who has received CCP money. Gus Bilirakis, who has received CCP money. These are deeply troubling issues because this company, iGas, it's a de facto under control Chinese communist company. I mean, not my ruling, and far above my pay grade. This ruling has been made by 4 U.S. Commerce departments and heavily litigated. And once I filed an FEC complaint against iGas, I filed an OFAC complaint against iGas. I filed criminal complaints at the federal and state level over this. We kept investigating it, and we find that iGas took PPP money. They changed the name of one of the principals to another guy who isn't really the owner, and then they apply for PPP money, but they're really a Chinese-controlled company, and so it's things are a little interesting. And the funny thing about this is, even after they've been put on notice by the FEC and myself, and I'm pretty loud about this, they've doubled down, and they're making more donations. They made more donations to Gus Bilirakis, and apparently they made donations to a PAC that is running in opposition to the guy in Kentucky who is persona non grata in the GOP these days.
Yeah, interesting. So what have you had any feedback, any response, any like, ooh, we need to look into that, or from anyone?
I haven't. And so we went, we talked about this earlier. I went and I did an interview with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and they have not only been inactive, it appears that they may have even have been destroying evidence. And the day after that meeting that we had, mysteriously that tracker that you guys reported on went dark. And the very next day,
tracker from illegal ballots in Pinellas that ended up in Fulton County, Georgia.
Yes, that is correct. And so, people, they want to be the devil's advocate, and they say, well, Chris, maybe the battery died. I said, well, that's a great idea. Maybe it did. I go, but the problem is that I have a control device out of the same package, and it's sitting on my desk, and it has full battery. So I guess that one doesn't quite work. So we've caught them a bunch of ways. Now, ultimately, this has to get flushed out in court. Hopefully, we have some judges that aren't materially connected to the case, like we had in Pinellas County and with the DCA. We had the District Court of Appeals judges, where most of the panel, their own vote by mail ballots were subject to this stuff. And yeah.
So what do you say to the people? So, I'm a candidate. I get thousands of contributions. I can't check every one. If 10 grand came in from iGas, communist, I just didn't notice.
Well,
What do you?
Unfortunately for the Florida CCP money recipients, there was a story about this back, I think, in 2023, 2024, where they got notice that there was Chinese communist money being sent into their campaigns, and they didn't return it. They kept it, and some people like Ashley Moody, she doubled down and took more, a lot more. Just like Gus Bilirakis. So,
what kind of numbers are we talking about for Ashley Moody? How much is she taking?
Probably close to a couple of 100,000 that we know about. I mean, that doesn't even count, the money that we know was smurfed in via the Win Red Smurfs. That doesn't count the money that she took from Leo Gavoni, who had pilfered $100 million from special needs trusts. I mean, there's a lot of illicit money being poured into these campaigns. And, I'm doing what I can. I'm one guy, right? And I'm filing FEC complaints. I'm filing complaints. They're on notice. They haven't, the Treasury hasn't taken the money. And, so I'm doing the best I can with what we got.
What do you mean the Treasury hasn't taken the money?
Well, I filed a petition with the Office of Foreign Asset Control, and I invoked distinct executive orders talking about election interference by foreign governments. And in that petition, we wanted to designate this company iGas as interfering in our elections. Arguably, taking CCP money is barred money from a de facto controlled Chinese communist company is a crime, and it's election interference. So, the Treasury has taken any action on that, but we know.
Nucleo wasn't a product that was developed and to sell, really. What it really was a journey to get me well after my experience trying to immigrate and get married to an American citizen in order to get my green card. Towards the end, they send you for a medical, and that's where they sat me down and gave me 16 vaccines in one sitting. At the time, I knew when I was going through it that it's probably not good, but I didn't realize that I'm about to go through the worst health experience of my life. And that's when I went on this journey and understand that nutrition is actually your medicine. I've always heard the old people say your food's in your garden, but we didn't get it. And your body is always trying to heal itself. I mean, when you cut yourself in a couple of days, it heals. And that is the process of homeostasis. Your body is always every cell in your body is always healing itself. And just like anything, if you bake a cake or you build a house, you need the right ingredients to achieve the result. Now, if you don't have the correct nutrition and you're not eating the correct food, it's like trying to build a house without bricks. Now, a lot of people, they say, what does Nucleo do? Nucleo itself does nothing. It's not designed to do anything. Your body does the work. It gives your body all the things it needs balanced in, and it works together to deliver the correct nutritional supplement that you need as a human being to function normally.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, regular $69.98. Now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard MyPillows regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale only $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free. Okay, welcome back to the SCIF. I'm on location at SOF Week, which is in Tampa, Florida, for Special Operations Forces, kind of a networking technology display, interactive, week-long event for Special Operations, the community, as you will. And so we're going to talk now about Ukraine, which SOF has been heavily involved in. And I've got an operator who knows a lot about that, and that's our good friend Pete Blaber. I want to bring him in. So if I can find Mr. Blaber here in all the green room. Pete, how you doing, my friend?
Good. How are you, Todd?
Busy on the road a good bit. Everything is, Ukraine is still going and people are still dying. We're about to have another war in Iran. Before we get started, what's your sense of what's happening geopolitically here? I feel like there's huge information wars happening, and we're like watching them real time, right? It's almost like Gangs of New York, where you have different factions trying to control, I think, resources, routes. What say you? Any insight on that?
Yeah, I mean, and I think what you're referring to is just the varied narratives that we're hearing.
Yes.
We very clearly have a mainstream media that still is conjoined by one goal, and that's, anything that can cast shade on Donald Trump and his administration is good, and anything that shines a positive light on the administration is bad. Yeah. And so with both Iran and Ukraine, you've got this, I consider myself a historian.
Yeah.
For the first time in history, you've got this internal element in the United States and in Western Europe working against what is ultimately the best interests of their own people and the people of these countries, which is peace and stopping the killing. And so, the biggest downfall to me about Iran is that it has taken attention away from Ukraine.
Yes.
And all the progress it looked like we were making toward a peace agreement was just put into limbo until the Iran situation is cleared up. And, the sense of urgency has not diminished. It's increased. Men are still dying at, jaw-dropping rates, and they're still dying for no reason. And then, we've got this stalemate in Iran. So, that's where I wanted to start today, because it kind of leads into the Ukraine update.
Yes, we've got everything ready. Do you want me to run that short video?
Yeah, well, let me just intro it.
Sure.
We want to update on Iran real quick. Negotiations are still ongoing between Iran and the U.S., as well as the major Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Oman, to name the three most powerful. And those negotiations and the ceasefire are in their fifth week. We've been 5 weeks of negotiation and ceasefire. And the reason we don't have a lot of information on who specifically the U.S. is talking to is because the exact status in the negotiations has to be kept secret, again, due to what we just talked about, the global MSN's ongoing attempts to sabotage anything that comes out. That report we talked about last week, which said Iran retained 75% of its missiles and air defense has already been debunked, proven to be completely false. But that's part of the sabotage. That's part of this crazy dynamic we're talking about. And part of that, not just sabotage, is not reporting on what's happening inside Iran. And to me, that's the story to focus on continuously. And that's where we have our first video. It comes from Iran International. I recommend that site to all of our viewers. It's got good content. That's where we got the raw cell phone footage of the protests in January and some of the protests that have gone on since. So let's go ahead and roll that real quick, Todd.
They claim that this is like there's a fear of cyber attacks. But when you look at the big picture, it's really about controlling the narrative, controlling the information space and how Iranians inside the country feel in this moment. And it's clear when they're offering white SIMs to pro-regime journalists, analysts, and even Western social media influencers that are visiting the country to whitewash the events of January, for instance, which were the anti-regime uprising that resulted in the unprecedented massacre of tens of thousands of Iranians. And so when you look at that, you say, well, I guess it's really not about national security. It's about who you decide gets control of the internet. And so we're seeing this digital inequality play out right now in this information space. And really what it comes down to is a fear of its people speaking out. We've seen this for years now. It started with the 2009 post-election protests known as the Green Movement. And it was really then that the Islamic Republic started viewing the internet and social media as a national security threat. And so over the years, they've been implementing blocking of websites. 35% of the most visited websites globally, including all social media platforms, are blocked. And so Iranians have been using circumvention tools to get online. So this isn't really new, but this is taking it to a new extreme or a new normal.
It's just talking about the Iran 70-day internet, 75, I believe it is, day internet blackout. And why is this important? Because at first glance, you might think it's what governments do to shut down, make temporary security measures during wartime by containing, or restricting images of repression from reaching the outside world. But the continuation of these connectivity restrictions for more than 70 days points to something far more sinister, which is crowd control and censorship. And what the Iranian authorities appear to fear is not merely the circulation of information, but the social and political connectivity that allows dissent to transform into collective action. And the internet, that's the real power, the people power of the internet. The internet allows a protest in one city to rapidly become a national experience. And it allows citizens to realize, Todd, it's pretty, if you can mute your mic, it's pretty loud on your side. But the social and political connectivity allows dissent to transform into collective action. And the internet allows that to happen. The most important part about it is what I said, you can take events in one city and make them a national experience, and it allows citizens to become consciously aware that their own frustration is not isolated, and that they're not alone. There are others that continue to resist. And when we see it in this light, the internet shutdown is not simply about blocking news, it's about disrupting the connective tissue of resistance. And another reason this is important for us in the United States is because we, the people of the United States, can relate to this, because we were victims of the same tactics under the Biden administration, as Biden's FBI San Francisco office served as the gatekeeper of what dialogue was permissible and what dialogue was impermissible communication content for Twitter, Facebook, and other social media channels. And as an example, I live in California, but the county I live in is full of freedom-loving people who, like me, love California and despise the senseless political extremism that has been governing it for quite some time. And
at some point, I want to do a show on you with you on that, because it's really a big issue.
Yeah, I'd love to do that too. Many times during the pandemic, I would run into friends or business colleagues who live in different areas of California, and I'd listen to them, and you quickly realize that they're an island of sanity in a sea of senselessness. And these people would be ecstatic once you started talking and tell them, no, that's not what's happening. I totally agree with you, because they find out they're not alone, and that there's others who are skeptical, in this case of the supposed pandemic, the severity of it, as well as the shot they were telling everyone to take to stop it. And, I also bring that up because on a lesson learned note, this is why it makes sense to always have backup communication in the event of specifically a natural disaster, like out here for us, a massive earthquake, or if you're in the East Coast, a massive hurricane and earthquake, or another man-made disaster by political extremists. So back to the Iranian regime, one of the most important functions of digital connectivity in a protest movement is just that. It breaks political isolation, and propaganda purveyors and psychological manipulation depends heavily, and we've talked about this before, on convincing citizens that they're alone and they're powerless and they're unsupported and their view is a one-off crazy view, so don't talk about it. And that's the power of the internet network. Networks undermine isolation. And when individuals realize that others continue to resist, private fear can gradually evolve into collective confidence. And so in conclusion, on Iran specifically, a government that fears connectivity at this level ultimately is afraid of something far deeper. Its fears of society, of the people themselves. And in any state forced to isolate an entire country in order to preserve political control reveals not confidence in its stability, but profound anxiety over its fragility. And that's what's happening in Iran right now, as well as all around the world. So we said it last week, we'll say it again. It's the new theme of Iran. Whenever you hear someone talk about Iran or what's going to happen, remember the Iranian people, think about the Iranian people. That's what this is about, and what it needs to stay about in the future.
So let me just jump in there. But for our people listening, we're hiring and redoing this entire production facility, as well as hiring producers and other stuff. So hopefully this stuff that's been happening won't happen in the future. But anyway, stay with us. You want to move on to antivirus now?
Yeah. And I wouldn't worry about it, Todd. It's good. It's the raw, ground up.
It is raw. And by the way, I know you like to
reporting.
Yeah, totally, man. Totally. I'm here among all the gorillas.
Yeah, you
for
are.
Sure. So I was going to say, I'm going to cut this for you and send you with all the stuff perfected before you post it. So I'll get that to you within the hour. But go ahead.
Let's do the antivirus update. I put that in because we talked about it last week, but it folds in. This story folds in to what we're exactly talking about. Everyone should know that the antivirus is not a threat. As we talked about last week, its human-to-human contagion aspects are so minuscule that you have to understand what they are, which is there's only one strain of antivirus. It's not in the U.S. It's in the Andes. It's still extremely rare for human-to-human contagion, and we now know that it can only happen when two humans exchange bodily fluids, and even then, it's not a sure thing. But that doesn't dissuade CNN from trying to take advantage of this and once again using fear to manipulate people. and in hopes of maybe rolling it into something for the midterm elections.
They're definitely working it hard.
Yeah. So let's transition to Ukraine and Europe, and I think you have a video of a Lithuanian foreign ministry comment under the heading of the insanity continues. The Lithuanian.
Is this the one with Zelensky, or which one is that?
No, that's next.
Okay. I have the slide. Hold on. There you go.
Yeah, and so just to sum this up, the Lithuanian foreign ministry, foreign ministry, called on NATO to attack Kaliningrad, which is a massively strategically important city to Russia. It's their access to the Baltic Sea, and it's almost as if this is the onset of a new tactic by the EU. Like they've now given up trying to convince the people of Europe that Russia will lose. So they've switched to their second, false threat, which is that Russia will attack the rest of Europe and that they're an existential threat to Europe, which they've not. We've said this many times. They have never made a statement nor taken any action to show they're trying to take over the rest of Europe. And for anyone who's objective, you would realize, why would Russia want the rest of Europe? Why would they want these countries that have rendered themselves almost ungovernable? They all have to correct what's happened, and those are the big ones: Britain, Germany, France especially. But in order to do that, it looks like they're now trying to stoke Russia into something outside of Ukraine, perhaps a false flag operation. We're seeing all these UAVs, these drones cutting through these EU Baltic states now. It's something that bears watching, and the most important aspect of it is they're not giving up. The EU is just continuing to double down on this whole charade, and that's why I said in the beginning, the biggest downside to me of the Iran situation is that it's taken the attention off of this insanity in Ukraine and the rest of Europe.
Let me jump in there. Kaliningrad is, you can see in this picture there, is an exclave of Russia in the Baltics, to the west of the Baltic countries. And it was funny because when the Ukraine war started, some idiot in the EU, administration put up a big map, and it had one side white, one side red, and it said, "This is Russia and this is not," mocking the Kremlin. And they forgot about Kaliningrad, which was Russia inside Western Europe. So yeah. It is a big deal. It's the old Prussian, state area that Russia basically has had since World War II. So it's fascinating that Europe is now focusing on, starting a war there essentially, and that's that's been the fear of the gap coming from Russia. What's it called? I forget the name of the gap that was the big Cold War.
The Fulda Gap.
Yeah, right there through the Baltics and Belarus, which is white Russia, into that area is what all of NATO's war plans were focused on during the Cold War. So anyway, back to you.
Yeah, and Russia wasn't just given Kaliningrad. They lost hundreds of thousands of soldiers during the war during World War II defending it, and so it's not something to be, it's not a triviality. A lot of people don't even know it exists or the geography of it. And Todd, if you remember, probably 6 months ago on this show, we talked about a couple of our favorite generals, American generals from the EU, actually mentioned Kaliningrad as we need to look at potential to take back Kaliningrad. They made that statement. So, for Russia, it's not something to just dismiss as another empty threat from the EU. this is what we're talking about. They're stoking the flames. It looks like they're prepping another course of action to provoke Russia into doing something. But the insanity of it, just like the insanity of what they did in Ukraine, doesn't make any sense. And hopefully we can put a stop to it with peace talks.
Yeah, we just need to keep highlighting it, keep talking about this.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So let's go to that Zelensky, retro about his taking power. So 7 years ago, on May 20th, 2019, Zelensky's inauguration took place. He officially assumed the president of Ukraine. So 7 years now. And in the video, you'll see the Rada, and it's an interesting sight because the report on it went through looked at who was in the Rada at the time and who's gone. And more than half of those who were in the crowd cheering him on are no longer alive or have fled abroad. And as you know, as someone who's been there multiple times, one of the biggest losses to Ukraine is that their intelligentsia, beat feet long time ago. They are not in Ukraine anymore, and they took all their families with them. And of course, moves like that are contagious. They stoke the fears of the people. If they're leaving, it must be really bad. And it explains why so many others have fled. And we've got another story about young men in a minute. But, it's what I want to do right now is just take a look at the result of this, of Zelensky being put in power by the EU and the US, and what's happened to the country, which is basically it's turned into a fake country, which has no economy. Its economy is the war. The article, I think, calls Ukraine a bankrupt beggar, which it is. They can't exist without handouts, and they're dependent now on these Western partners, the EU partners, for support. And if you're dependent on MERS, Macron, and Starmer for your existence, you're standing on thin ice. And again, Ukraine's economy is the war. Zelensky's done nothing to build, a parallel Western free market economy, which Ukraine has huge potential to do. But again, that starts with getting the intelligentsia back, getting people to believe in what's happening, and none of that's happening. So, we talked about in retrospect, how's this former actor, comedian, who never wrote or commented so much as a tweet or anything on social media, any paper about foreign affairs or domestic Ukraine politics. He was a TV star. He didn't campaign to be president. He was inserted by his billionaire backer, Timur Mindich, who has since fled the country and taken refuge in Israel, of all places. So Zelensky didn't campaign.
He can play the piano with his penis, so he does have that talent. Don't forget that.
We had a report on that too. It's mind-boggling. So Zelensky didn't campaign. He refused to debate. We talked about Mindich. His other backer, Andrei Yermak, just was released from prison. He's been indicted and arrested for corruption, specifically multi-hundred million dollar corruption in the energy sector. So that's what he's done. Let's also look at what he did last week. We talked about this already, but it's important. Last week, Zelensky extended his decree on martial law, which is a part of a suite of wartime powers that suspends elections, bans opposition parties, and shuts down all media organizations except those run by state, which to all those all of our listeners, this is the very definition of totalitarianism and a totalitarian state.
This is also, Pete, very similar to what happened to Russia, because they sent a Bolshevik, i.e. Lenin, put him on a train with, the doors were welded shut, sent him into Moscow to foment this revolution and destroy the country. And Russia didn't produce the same amount of wheat until 100 years later, until 5 years or 7 years ago, 2018. So
wow.
It literally destroys and that's exactly what you're seeing here is a Bolshevik coming in and clamping down on the church, the opposition, the media, and building a dictatorship. It's the same MO. It's fascinating to me.
Yeah, and so then we get at the why. What's the logic of why? What is the purpose? So, again, Zelensky was put in power by the U.S. and the EU as their controllable puppet, and he was given a blank check totaling at least $350 billion from the U.S. You can probably add the same thing from Europe or a little less. So, $500+ billion. But most observers, including us, believe that the real purpose of that money was to make what I call Ukraine their own private Idaho, and their own private Idaho where they could do three things with impunity: launder money with no banking or regulatory oversight, operate a censorship industrial complex whose purpose is to manipulate Western elections in the US and Europe. They've done both. And to conduct biologic experiments specifically focused on gain of function with, once again, no oversight. And
do you want me to try to run this video?
Yeah. If you have the one on the biolabs.
Well, what about the one with Zelensky coming into power?
Yeah. Let's. Yep.
Okay.
There we go.
Кричать Зеленський по червоній доріжці.
He fails to return the salute right there.
Я, Володимир Зеленський, урочисто присягаю на вірність Україні. Кожен з нас президент. Це не моя, це наша спільна перемога. Не тільки я приймав присягу. Кожен з нас.
So that was the video. You could see half the people in the rada there are gone, have either fled or been killed. The other thing about that video that's informative is you see the Hollywood level production value of that video. The multiple camera angles, the close-ups, the zoom outs, the music, the walking through the doors. And that's not hearsay. We already know. He paid, $5 million to Sean Penn. He's had Hollywood directors over there. A team of Hollywood producer directors helped advise them on how to create some of the fake massacres that they've said the Russians have committed. It's unbelievable what they've done, but you see it in that video, and that's why I think it's informative. But back to the three purposes, and I want to go to the biologic one because it looks like, thanks to Tulsi Gabbard, we're finally getting some kind of investigation into what's going on there. And the U.S., thanks to Tulsi Gabbard, has just stated they'll inspect more than 120 labs that are spread through 30 different countries, 40 of them in Ukraine. And she added that the COVID-19 catastrophe shows the consequences of unchecked research into these dangerous pathogens in these biolaboratories what they can do to the entire world. So the other part is, do you have the video of Julia
Yes.
Mendel?
Yes. The next one you had was Victoria Newland, but
yeah, if you have that, we can play her because it's good. She's the architect of these biolabs. But listen to her under when she's talking to the I think it's the Senate.
Now quite concerned Russian troops, Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach.
And the point there is, she said, biological research labs.
Right.
It was very obvious that she was lying through her teeth.
Yeah, but I mean, just that she thinks she can admit that we set up 40 biologic research labs in a country that's not a first world country, thanks to what the EU and the US under the Obama administration did to Ukraine. But it's dangerous to the whole world, and those labs are still functioning. So obviously there's some project they're trying to complete in some period of time. Let's go to the Julia Mendel, his former press secretary, talking about the propaganda and what Zelensky said about propaganda.
Irritated. And he put his hands like this, what he was doing. He leaned to the table, he looked at us, and he said in a very irritated tone, I need Goebbels propaganda if you want. I need Goebbels propaganda. I need thousands of talking heads of Goebbels propaganda.
Wow. So right there, that's it. That's what we're talking about. And that's his press secretary, loyal press secretary. She just had enough and she quit. And I want to read, because I don't have it on video, but I follow her. I've followed her since she resigned. And she said some incredibly poignant things. And this is just one of them. And again, her name's Julia Mendel. Every subsequent deal for Ukraine will only be worse because we are losing. We are losing people, territory, and the economy. The EU, which, by the way, has paid Russia more than 311 billion euros for energy and goods since the start of the war, has no real strategy, no way to stop fueling Russian budget or support Ukraine enough to win. They have no direct dialogue, also no direct dialogue with Moscow, and no meaningful leverage over either the Kremlin or Washington. Arguments that Russia has gained so little land almost sound childish. And so my country is bleeding out. Many who reflexively oppose every peace proposal believe they are defending Ukraine. With all respect, that is the clearest proof they have no idea of what's actually happening on the front lines and inside the country right now. War is not a Hollywood movie. I will never abandon the values that God and democracy both place at the very foundation of human existence. Human life is the highest good, and people, living, breathing people, are the ones who must be saved. And Todd, I don't think you and I could say it better. That's what we've been saying the whole time. She summed it up. This is not about pulling for Ukraine or pulling for Russia. It's about stopping this propaganda war and saving the lives of both countries' patriots who, unbeknownst to them, are fighting a war that has no real purpose to it.
You know, let me jump in there. One other thing that we reported on a couple months ago is that she came out and said that she confronted Zelensky and Yermak because Yermak was taking literally fluids from bodies out of the cemetery and bringing it in for like occult rituals with Zelensky. So, I mean, that's what you're dealing with here. And it comes from someone like her on the inside. She comes off as very credible, don't you think?
I do. I've been listening. I told you I follow her. I've been listening to her. And you heard that statement. That statement says it all. She's not saying she was wronged and she needs to get back at him. She's talking about what we've been talking about, which is this is about the people and this is a fake war. and his global stuff just feathers into all the things we've talked about, the Bucha massacre, all the cover-up of the Maidan protests and what followed in 2014 all the way to 22 when the war started. So, you're hearing it from the inside, but that never gets out. And again, one of the real downsides of what's happened is that we're taking our attention away from stopping this insanity. So just to add a few more exclamation points to what Zelensky's done, do you have the video of the men standing by the fence?
We've got the Yermak video now.
Yeah, you can pass that. It's just him getting out of jail yesterday. Okay. He met his bond. So yeah, this is just shows a number of men captured at the border, and trying to get out. And as we've said before, this is not a motivation problem. These are not cowardly Ukrainian men. This is a logic problem. The logic of why the Zelensky government has communicated to the people doesn't make sense to them. This war doesn't make sense to them. They love their country, yet they don't agree with what they've been told about why they're supposed to go and risk their livelihoods and their life for this war. And this means what that just tells us again in a very profound empirical way is that the purpose that the Zelensky government has told its people of the war doesn't make sense to them. And of course it doesn't. It never has and never will make sense to the people who have to live and fight and hopefully come back to Ukraine someday. So, and then the final thing, I think we've got a video of the NATO chief there.
I've got two videos, one of the Ukrainian prisoner and one of the body exchange. And then
let's show those. Those are good. The prisoner is.
We'll start with that one.
Yeah.
То есть загребли, кинули в бусик. Потом с СК меня в Днепропетровск в учебку, там такой был большой курятник, и там мы пробыли 4 дня. Потом я слышал уже, когда я был в Скале, что туда прилетело пару ракет. Обычных людей словили с улицы, больных за 50 лет, и тупо заставляли их, унижали. В Скале, допустим, все наркоманы, алкоголики поголовно. Они к людям относились как к животным. Я пришел на позицию и решил, что надо делать лыжи, потому что меня завалят или свои, или убьют русские военные, потому что иду против России. Оно мне не надо, я стрелять не хочу. Я не знаю, за что я воюю. За что мне воевать? Россию не победить.
Yeah, and drug abuse and alcoholism are not specific to the Ukrainian military here, but it becomes epidemic when when you have unmotivated soldiers and you have soldiers who are dropped off at locations without being told why they're being dropped off and know they have no training. You're going to fear when you're not prepared. So it's another automatic fear response when you're thrown into a complex situation and you're not in any way prepared for it. And that's most of these forced conscripts. And so, when you think back of all those young men standing by the fence, captured, trying to escape the country, they understand this. They've got relatives who've already sent letters home or called home and told them what's going on. They know what is happening and what will happen to them if they're captured by the forced conscriptors and they're sent to the front lines. And now you can show the body exchange, which is just one more body exchange, shows the lopsided body count between Russia and Ukraine. But it's also a poignant reminder that we're not talking theory here, or we're not talking about intangibles. We're talking about thousands of men's lives that are evaporating before our eyes on a daily basis.
So I guess the text is it's like 500 to 41 or something like that, right?
Yeah, which, you know, is the pattern we've seen in all these exchanges. They were 39-1. I think this one's a little less, but it's still hugely lopsided. And still huge. Everyone should look at that. That should be on the news media too. This is not a sporting event where you just have a side and you pull for the side and put a placard in your front yard that you're on that side. This is a human catastrophe of epic proportions, and nothing has changed as far as the urgency everyone should have in ending it. And then just to put an exclamation point on it, this is Root, the head of NATO, telling all the NATO countries that this is a serious thing. They need to put aside 0.25% of their GDP to give to Ukraine every year, so that Ukraine can budget around 150 billion a year that it can count on each year to keep this war going. And these are countries with rotting economies in serious trouble. Germany yesterday put out some unbelievably dire economic news. France and Britain are in the same boat. And yet, why, you'd have to ask yourself again, why would they even suggest giving 0.25% of their GDP into perpetuity to the Ukrainian war effort when they have people at home who are starving, who can't afford basic goods, and who can't even find a job?
And their security, they're not. I mean, they're at risk of violent crime daily.
Yep.
And by the way, we're part of NATO. By the way, so what's 0.25%? You know,
it's a lot. It's a lot. But it just circles back to what we're talking about. What's the purpose? How can this insanity be not just supported, but being accelerated as time goes on? And it just comes back to those three things: money laundering with impunity, a isolated, secure, censorship industrial election turning complex, and the ability to do biologic experiments with no regulatory oversight. And so with that, that concludes my update on Iran and Ukraine.
All right, so we're going to close the show out here. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow in the studio, 10 to noon, Monday through Friday on the SCIF. We've got the Georgia show coming Sunday at 2 p.m. Please sign up for our socials, CDM1 on Rumble, CDM on YouTube. Follow us there, CDM_press on X. Thank you, Pete, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good.